Doing it for so many years.
Good afternoon. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. This is the Marion City Council meeting for Tuesday, May 5th. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Roll call, please.
Mr. Miskman,
Here.
Mr. Uniman,
Here.
Mr. Jensen,
Here.
Mayor Abu Wassili,
Present.
Mr. Brandt,
Here.
Ms. Menzer, Mr. Harper.
Here. Thank you. This time we have a moment of silence. Okay, thank you. First item on the agenda is one of our favorite things. We were administering the oath of office to two police officers. Chief, are you introducing them?
So we'll start with Officer Ryan Lovejoy. So if you want to step up here, Ryan just graduated the Iowa Law Enforcement Academy about a week and a half ago. So he's been hitting the streets and he's in the field training phase now. So we'd like to officially welcome him with the oath of office.
Forward, please. All right, raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Ryan Lovejoy,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Iowa
and the Constitution of the State of Iowa
and the ordinances of the City of Marion, Iowa,
and the ordinances of the City of Marion, Iowa.
and that I will faithfully and impartially,
I will faithfully and impartially,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
discharge all the duties of a police officer
discharge all the duties of a police officer
in the City of Marion, Iowa,
in the City of Marion, Iowa,
as now or hereafter required by law.
as now and hereafter as required by law.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Welcome to Team Marion.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, next is Officer Ashton Hayes. She comes to us certified from Iowa City Police Department and is also here with her 7-month-old baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, so and her husband. So welcome Ashton to the police department.
I state your name.
I, Ashton Hayes,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Iowa
and the Constitution of the State of Iowa
and the ordinances of the City of Marion, Iowa,
and the ordinances of the City of Marion, Iowa.
and that I will faithfully and impartially,
I will faithfully and impartially,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
discharge all the duties of a police officer
discharge all the duties of a police officer
in the City of Marion, Iowa,
in the City of Marion, Iowa,
as now or hereafter required by law.
as now hereafter required by law.
Congratulations
Thank
and
you.
welcome. You get it? I got it. Okay. Thank you. Again, welcome to both of them to our team, and it's great to see all their new teammates joining here to to help recognize them. Next, we have three proclamations. The first one is American Legion Auxiliary Poppy Days. And we have Susan here to accept that. Come on forward. You ready?
Ready.
All right. This is a proclamation for American Legion Auxiliary Poppy Days on behalf of the city of Marion. Whereas freedom is a privilege to be treasured by all residents of the city of Marion, and whereas this privilege has not been free but carries with it immeasurable sacrifices by our veterans, and whereas in yearly observation of this said sacrifices, I hereby honor the veterans and their importance in the preservation of our freedoms. And whereas the poppy is a symbol of remembrance for all veterans who served this country and aid the living veterans and their families. Now therefore, I, Nicholas Abouassili, Mayor of the City of Marion, Iowa, do hereby proclaim May 15th and 16th, 2026 as American Legion Auxiliary Poppy Days, and urge all residents of the City of Marion to pause and honor our veterans by wearing the poppy, the American Legion Auxiliary's memorial flower. Would you like to say anything?
Yeah, I'm good.
Oh, okay.
Thank
Perfectly fine. Thank you. Our next proclamation is for Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. And I'm happy to do this one as I am Asian American. So come on forward, Heather, with our Civil Rights Commission. Whereas the contributions of Americans of Asian and Pacific Islander descent are firmly woven into the diverse fabric of our community and nation. And whereas during Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, we celebrate the remarkable accomplishments of Americans of Asian and Pacific Islander heritage that have enriched our great country and helped define our history. And whereas these Americans bolster our economy as entrepreneurs, business owners, and employees who initiate and expand opportunities for their families, communities, and country. And whereas their languages, art, cuisine, and other cultural elements have enriched the American experience. And whereas this month we honor the more than 24 million Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders who call America home, including those in our own community. We recognize the achievements of Americans of Asian American and Pacific Islander heritage in education, business, science, the arts, government, and the armed forces. We celebrate their story as a unique part of the American story. Now, therefore, I, Nicholas Abouassili, Mayor of the City of Marion, Iowa, do hereby proclaim this month of May as Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month in the City of Marion, and encourage all residents to observe this month and celebrate the achievements and contributions of Americans of Asian and Pacific Islander descent. Would you like to say something?
I just, on behalf of the Marion Civil Rights Commission, would like to thank the leadership and elected officials for your continued commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion within the Marion boundaries, and welcoming all and accepting everyone for who they are and what they bring to our community.
Thank you. Thank you for your work on the commission. Our final proclamation is for Building Safety Month, and Councilmember Jensen is going to read that, and Gary Hansen will accept it.
Whereas Marion is committed to recognizing that our growth and strength depends on the safety and essential role of our homes, buildings, and infrastructure play, both in everyday life and when disasters strike. And whereas our confidence in the resilience of these buildings that make up our community is achieved through the devotion of vigilant guardians, building safety and fire prevention officials, architects, engineers, builders, tradespeople, design professionals, laborers, plumbers, and others in the construction industry who work year-round to ensure the safe construction of buildings. And whereas these guardians are dedicated members of the International Code Council, a nonprofit that brings together local, state, territorial, tribal, and federal officials who are experts in the built environment to create and implement the highest quality codes to protect us in the buildings where we live, learn, work, and play. And whereas these modern building codes include safeguards to protect the public from hazards such as hurricanes, snowstorms, tornadoes, wildland fires, floods, and earthquakes. And whereas Building Safety Month is sponsored by ICC to remind the public about the critical role of our community's largely unknown protectors of public safety, our code officials, who assure us of safe, sustainable, and affordable buildings that are essential to our prosperity. And whereas Built to Last, the theme for Building Safety Month 2026, encourages us to all get involved and raise awareness about building safety on a personal, local, and global scale. And whereas each year in observance of Building Safety Month, people all over the world are asked to consider the commitment to improve building safety, resilience, and economic investment at home and in the community, and to acknowledge the essential service provided to all of us by local, state, tribal, territorial, and federal building safety and fire prevention departments in protecting lives and property. Now, therefore, I, Steve Jensen, on behalf of Nicholas Abuasili, Mayor of the City of Marion, Iowa, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2026 as Building Safety Month in the City of Marion, Iowa, and encourage our residents to join us as we participate in Building Safety Month activities. Gary?
Thank you.
Mike's all yours.
And I just want to take a minute to thank the council for your guys' support over the years for the building department, and we are working diligently to make safer homes in the community of Marion. So, thanks.
We appreciate everything you do, Gary, and your department also. Thank you very
Thanks.
much. Notice I gave the long proclamation to the Mayor Pro Tem. Okay. The next item on the agenda is an introduction of another new teammate for Team Marion. Mark Seckman has a new team member to introduce to us.
Well, good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I'm Mark Seckman, President of Marion Economic Development Corporation. And I'm really excited to introduce you to Lillian Jones, who is our latest team member at Medco, but more importantly at Team Marion. She is our marketing and communication specialist. Lillian has deep roots in Marion, actually. Her grandparents, both sets, live in Marion. Her parents grew up in Marion, one a Marion Independent School District graduate and one a Lindmark graduate. So she's coming back home. So I will let Lillian talk a little bit about herself. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Yes, it's so nice to meet all of you. I'm so excited to be involved in this community. Like Mark said, I grew up in Piasta, just a little bit outside of Dubuque, went to Western Dubuque High School, and then went away for college up to the Twin Cities to study economics, political science, and public policy. And so I'm excited to use all of that experience that I gained over those years in this role, as well as some of the experience I gained at the Economic Alliance in Cedar Rapids. I know today there were some notes that I'm coming over to the good side, not the dark side anymore. So I'm excited to be here as well. But I look forward to getting to know each and every one of you, and don't be afraid to say hello or shoot me an email to introduce yourself.
Welcome to Marion. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item is an annual presentation by the Cedar Rapids Transit Authority.
Yes, tonight, good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight we'll have our annual presentations from our friends from Cedar Rapids Transit. Sergio Hill is here, and then we'll have Sandy Winger, who is with NTS / Horizons, who will also step up after Sergio.
Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, for having us here for our annual presentation. I just want to first start by thanking you for our continued partnership. I think that is very important for our metro area transit plan. So thank you very much. So today I'm going to walk through our FY27 cost update, of course, explain how the Route 20 cost is calculated at a higher level, and also provide an update on a free fare pilot that we are considering. So for our current partnership snapshot, the structure remains the same. So current 20 AE agreement, and then Route 20 remains, the service remains the same. So it still is as it is on the map there. And also that includes the after-hour paratransit service, and also the, the paratransit service and our after-hour service. So one of the things I wanted to touch base on today, in addition, is you hear a lot about us. You also hear a lot about Horizons NTS, but you kind of hear that we're required to have paratransit service. Well, I thought I'd just give a quick synopsis of what that process looks like. So ADA paratransit service is designed for individuals who are unable to use the fixed route system due to disability. If you look at the screen there, the first step is actually the application process. So clients will fill out an application. That includes information like medical certification and other things that verify their disability. Once they turn in the application, it is then evaluated by Cedar Rapids Transit based on their functional ability to use the service. And then step 3 to 4 there, if they're approved, then we forward their information to Lane County Lifts. And once they're forwarded to Lifts, they handle the process from there. So it starts with us, and then it ends with Lifts. Now, one thing, just want to share with this process, 2 things that tend to come up quite often, which we are constantly make sure that we are educating clients who feel like they need paratransit service. So one of those most misunderstood aspects is that having a disability automatically qualifies you, right? It's based on the ADA definitions. And then if you are in turn not approved, most people think you mean that means that you're saying they don't have a disability. So that is not all indicative of what this process is. There is a process, but again, we try to make sure people are well informed and understand the process. So if we need to bring them in for a quick interview and run through things to help them better understand, we try to do that. So again, that application process starts with us. If it's approved, it goes to Lyft. If they're not approved initially, they can take advantage of an appeals procedure. And so we've had some that went through that and they get overturned, and some that stand. So, but again, service is limited to individuals who cannot use the fixed route transit under ADA criteria. Moving right along, so a little bit about your Route 20 service profile. As you can see, ridership has crept back up since FY21. So for FY25, you're about at 62,000. And the last time I checked, we are around, it's pretty much mirroring last year, slightly higher, but up until this point. Service hours, so weekday service, 5:15 a.m. to 7, Saturday service, 9 to 5. Most routes, including Route 20, is 1 hour long. And then we do have some routes, different times of day, that also have 1 half hour peak service. Route 5, which we consider one of the main parts of this system, what makes it work so well, has 15-minute service all day long along First Avenue. And of course, it connects at the transfer point at Twixtown Road to 20 and 30 with the rest of the system. So a very vital part of our service. A little bit more on some of your service metrics. So for the year, it equates to 4,360 vehicle hours, 61,986 vehicle miles, and then you do have one peak vehicle. In addition, your overall cost represents 6% of the fixed cost share. So like I said, I want to keep it high level, but definitely dig a little bit more into these next slides with the cost allocation model. Your cost starts with our fully allocated cost model. The model is transparent, it's consistent, it's service-based, it uses the hours, the miles, peak vehicles, and then your percent of fixed costs. So it's the same framework that is used across all of our routes. We think the model provides a consistent method for connecting service levels to cost. This model is not something we came out of the blue. It's very representative of models that are used in fixed route transit. So it's tied to those miles, hours, and fixed costs in peak buses. So this next slide here, just kind of breaking it down just a little bit more, but we start with the total system costs, obviously, convert that into unit costs, and then from there, we apply those costs to your Route 20 service. From there, we apply federal and state funding, and then that arrives at your net cost to Marion. So in whole, your cost reflects your share of the service and your share of fixed costs to operate the system. For FY 27, our cost summary, the total initial costs, $792,969. After federal and state funding is applied, that brings your net cost down to $486,926, which is about a $14,000 increase from FY 26, or about a 3% increase. So again, these costs, your hours, your miles, your fixed cost share are all plugged in to the model, and that's how we arrive to that number. I hope that makes sense. So looking ahead, we are evaluating a potential free fare pilot. A study has been initiated. It's not just us doing this. It's in conjunction with the MPO, that partnership. And so that is underway, and some of the key questions, just going free fare doesn't mean that, oh, we have a initial funding loss gap, right? It's indicative of other things. And so we want to make sure we understand what we're getting to. So before I talk about what this study looks at, I want to talk about the why. So a few facts right now is that, first of all, 78% of our current ridership is through fee, free, or sponsored fare. That's kind of a lot like most, right? And so it makes sense to consider whether or not we could still increase access, because that's what we're talking about here is that's 78%, but I know for a fact I go out and visit with people, and I know that there's still more who face life challenges, who, because maybe they're homeless and they can't get their ID, they still face barriers. So it'll continue to help to close that gap. One of the biggest other reasons is, so we're looking at proactive ways to position the system for improved funding opportunities post the 2030 census. Why? The metro area will go over 200,000. What that does is takes us for transit funding and puts us into the 200,000, 1 million pool. So that means some things will be different. And so we're just looking at proactive ways to position ourselves for better or equal funding when we do go over. Also, our fare boxes are at their useful life. This was not a surprise. We knew that was coming. And the cost to replace is about $1.3 million. So now's a great time to ask yourself, is that funding better for more critical capital needs, or is it time to replace fare boxes? So these are a lot of the things we are considering and why we are asking this question. And so that free fare study that is being done is going to look at how demand may change or what impacts may occur. You do free fare, well, the ridership suddenly goes up, spikes up. Well, what does that do for the system? Servicing capacity. So does this, in the long run, mean that we're so full that we need more vehicles, right? Things like that, or the financial impacts. How does it change operating in capital cost implications? And then, what did our peers learn? Are we looking diligently at that information and learning from it and setting ourselves up to win? So in all, the goal is to determine what is realistic, what's sustainable, what's fundable, what works for our situation with our partners, because we don't think this works unless this works for the entire metro area. Just a little bit of a timeline there. The study just started last week. Of course, they'll work through their findings and that information will be presented. That is then what we will return to our partners. Let's take a look at this. What does this mean? What are the implications? What are the costs above and beyond the fares we would lose? And then from there, Cedar Rapids Transit will make the final recommendations to the Cedar Rapids City Council. With that being said, obviously for FY27 and beyond, stable service is our priority, and then just informed conversations ahead, because truly there's no decision that has been made just yet. So our partnership approach, we think is very important. And so to wrap up, FY27 service remains unchanged. Future fare impacts are not yet known. And also we will be exploring additional sponsors. So maybe that'll help cover that gap, and funding will not be that big of an issue. But we will be exploring that also. So that concludes that portion of this presentation. And again, I say sincerely, we thank you for your continued partnership.
Thank you.
Would you
like to?
I don't know if you want to do
answer
questions
questions
after or.
Oh, okay.
Either way, it's, when you,
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
if you
think
wanna-
we'll go ahead and take questions at this time. Go ahead.
Yeah, Sergio, one question. I thought about hotels have what they call the occupancy rate.
yeah.
What is your rate on how full are your buses on the average throughout the city and metro area?
Well, there is a seated capacity on a
Yeah.
bus, but our buses are designed to also carry standing passengers. So while we might be 29 or take a give, if you have a couple of wheelchair positions on the bus, I would say that right now, what I know about our current ridership, we have a lot of room to grow. So you look at the scope of Marion up to our Route 5. Route 5 is every 15 minutes, so as you can imagine, carries over 120,000 passengers, whereas Marion's at 60. So we have not run into any issues where capacity is an issue, except for, I should say, school trips. Because there's sponsored fare for students, that has been one of our bigger challenges. And so, did you want a specific number on?
No, I'm just looking at, I mean, if you want to look at this free ridership program, you've got to have capacity
Exactly.
to accommodate the increased ridership that you're trying to project. And I don't know how you're going to project that. So I'm just saying,
Right.
that's the point I'm trying to get as, do you have capacity on the existing buses and the lines that you have?
This conversation started because I know that we have capacity, but that's also one of the reasons why we are doing this study,
Okay.
is that it will examine what does that look like? Is it I mean, if you look at conventional studies where people went free, it could be 20%, 30, 40. I mean, you have to know your area, but again, we want to make sure we look at this thoroughly and we understand what to expect. Therefore, our decision is very informed, because we don't want to set ourselves up for a situation where that is an issue. However, part of that study is knowing what additional things will you need to do. So if we're at capacity, or that would be an issue, we may have to start looking at our long-term capital plan, or maybe routes need to change to serve more, to serve more accurately, okay? So, but that's what this study is going to look at and provide all that information. So that's why we said, well, we can't do this without doing that.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Sergio, I know at the Metropolitan Planning Organization, this has been a periodic topic. In fact, I think you brought it up somewhat recently. And I know that Brad DeBrouwer also brought it up when he was in your position.
Sure.
So it's not a new consideration. Can you give a little sense as to sort of the project timeline? You're going to do some study, examine some other locations. I think Iowa City moved to a fare-free operational status and had some results
Yes.
that might inform us. I guess the question then is the pilot, when would the pilot start based on being at the front end, the activity around your study? So give us a little sense what that project looks like in total.
Yeah, so again, the study is occurring now. We have a guesstimated completion of, I want to say this correctly, of them wrapping the study up in July of 2026. And so I cannot speak for our council and projecting what because I think a lot of it's going to depend on what the study yields. If it sounds like this should be a smooth process and we can grow over time, I think if I had to put a timeline on it, we threw out maybe the start of the new year, right, for a pilot. Okay. However, if we find that there's more considerations or things we need to prep for, that timeline is going to be fluid as far as executing of the free fare pilot based on what the study brings. So this is, again, this is at the idea stage. And so I think that's where, once we find the results, I think we can further that conversation on better timelines on what more set in stone date might look like. But we want to make sure you guys are well informed at ground zero so you know what's going on and kind of what we're considering.
I'm glad you jumped back to this slide because you just proved to me that you gave me the information for my question earlier. But you're used to that at MPO, right? Okay, thanks.
No, sure, no problem.
Any other questions for Sergio? Thank you very much.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Hi, thank you for inviting me tonight, Mayor, Marion, Council. My name is Sandy Wager. I'm the Director of NTS at Horizons. Tonight, I'm going to present to you the annual review of what your services look like as part of NTS. And this is actually for the past 12 months, so it's the most recent data we have right now. Why do our riders choose NTS? And so we do a satisfaction survey twice a year. A couple things I think are really important. 83% said they achieved greater independence. And I think, isn't that what we want for our people? So that's a really exciting statistic. I think the other one is 96% say NTS is affordable. And so looking at other options that people have after hours, that's really a nice response to hear from our riders. The impact that NTS has had in Marion, we're going to look first at the ridership and how it affects your people. And so we've got 5 charts there. The first one is the number of rides given. So that's 4,392 in this last year. Just a little bit higher than what we've reported in the last 5 years. Number of riders impacted by our service was 150. The number of rides coming into Marion from outside of Marion was 1934. The number of rides within Marion, so that means they originated and they arrived within Marion, was 1,506. And the number of rides that left Marion were 952. So except for the last one, we've made nice increases in all of those. The impact that NTS has made in Marion has not just helped your people, but it's also helped your employers. And so I have some of the major destinations that our riders are going to and from work. The biggest one that we're seeing is Walmart. That there's always a lot of ridership going to and from Walmart. Some of the newer ones that we're seeing this year are Domino's, Your Pie, Casey's. Those are all new destinations or originations from last year. And I wanted to point out how service to and from Marion is a little bit different than the ridership within the Cedar Rapids area. And so I think one point that I want to make here is the distance that our riders travel. So when people request a ride, this is a curb to curb service. And so, you know, a ride could be originating at in Marion and somebody's working all the way out at General Mills. And so the reason I point that out, the number of miles per ride is substantially higher with people that are coming to and from Marion. So looking at that, the average ride distance is 9.59 miles compared to 6.96. And then finally, we just want to thank you so much for your support. This year we had asked for 50,000 and I understand that was approved. And so we are very grateful for that. We've seen a substantial increase in our operational expenses and maintenance costs. And so this will certainly help us out a lot with that. So thank you very much. Do you have any questions for me?
Okay. Thank you. Questions? None? Good presentation. And thank you very much for
Yes, thank you much.
what you do for Marion and partnering with us. So
Appreciate that. Thank you.
next item is a presentation on strategic development concepts regarding the Carriage Corner development. Go ahead.
Hi, good evening again. Tonight, we have a presentation from
excuse
Joe
me.
Hill and his team.
Hold on. Thank you.
Tonight, we have a presentation in regards to the Carriage Corner. This is, Carriage Corner has been a project I know that has been in eyesight for quite a while. I think the earliest conversation in just some records that I had at hand was back in 2019. We do have Joe Hill here tonight and his team. We have Randy Sharp, who will be speaking tonight, going through the presentation. The purpose of the presentation tonight is a while back, council had approved a multifamily project. It had, as I said, it's been a little while since council has seen that. They've refurbished that project, brought it back. We did do some small group meetings in that. We had additional feedback on, is this area, should it be just multifamily, or is it something that we could look at that was a little more, that the team could look at as little as townhouse or brownstones in this area too, because that is an area of housing that we have a high need for. And when we go back and we look at our multifamily housing study, we have just a little over 500. We lack just a little over 500 of those types of units. So in that, the team went back, Joe Hill and his team went back and took a look at that. And so they'd like to kind of walk you through their thought process and get some feedback from you as they continue to work through their design strategies and the layout of the project. Tonight, we do, as I said, Joe is here. Randy is one of the contractors that would lead the project, him and Nate with High Caliber. And then we have Gary Landhauser tonight from Emergent, who is the architect. So everybody here that can help answer any questions you might have are here and available tonight to help work through this process. Okay, Randy.
Good afternoon, Mayor and council members. She said, my name is Randy Stromick, president of High Caliber Contracting. This is Nate Yelton, one of my co-owners. First off, the brain trust is over here, so if you got any specific questions, direct it to these guys. But as, where should go? Hit the. See. All right, as I said, we're here to discuss Carriage Corner. Just a bit background. Over the last 7 or 8 months, we've worked with Kim, Nicole, and Gary, which have been fantastic, going through different concept ideas. So as Kim said, a little background, these things were moved over to the property by Mr. Hill. When that happened, he actually put a lot of time and thought into it with the foundations ready to be built in the future. However, through a combination of unfortunate events, Rachel mainly being the main one, it just kind of deteriorated the buildings to a place where it's a lot more thought had to go into it and how you're going to redevelop it and make it go. That he replaced the roofs, everything like that. However, it's made the restoration process a little bit slower into where we are today. Now, just to get into it just briefly, quickly here. So as the buildings we will go through right here, our proposal is to save 2 of the buildings. Obviously, we'd like to save all 3. However, as you can see on the screen, building the 356 on 9th Street. Between our structural engineer and Seedorf, the estimated cost, this is a rough numbers, is roughly the $285,000 just to save the building. That is just to redo the brick, tuck point it, get it back to a structurally sound place where we can actually start the renovations. The other building, which one's the Carriage House?
So Carriage House would be the 356 9th Street. Essentially, the 881 is the far west side. That is also a doable, once again, tuck pointing, getting it back to the point where we can actually build in it. The Carriage Corner itself is that 356. That is the really important one that we're really focusing on keeping. I know Joe has that vision as well, because it still has that carriage, has the arch, has all the nice brick, and it's still the main building. And I know we talked about it prior, is that 885 on 4th. That, you know, is the one of main concern. And we do have some numbers for you tonight for this. These are rough, obviously, without getting too deep into the woods. But let Randy take it here.
Yeah, so to salvage that building, it's estimated to be about $350,000. Why this is, that is a 2 coarse brick building that water has gotten inside of it. And you're going to have to redo 2 incomplete elevations of that building, plus put a 3rd course on it just to get it back to what it originally was. With that, Seedorf and our structural engineer, they think there's less than 40% of the brick is actually salvageable on that whole project. So the 140, the demo, that is to demo and salvage what can be salvaged, so we can utilize those bricks, keep the history, the heritage, and utilize it someplace else on the project. Then the building 339 on 9th Street, that is a house that's right down the road or right next door. It's actually now zoned into the rest of the project. It is split up into 3 units inside the house. We'll go into that a little deeper later on. Obviously, that house, we are looking to get it relocated or as much of it salvaged for historical purposes as possible. Unfortunately, it just has to be moved in order to make the economics of the project work. So here's option A. Like Kim said, this is a model that was approved years back. So it saves the 2 buildings, and then we build into the middle of it. Obviously, these are just more smaller apartments, not really geared towards your family that we are pivoted to here. This would be rental, basically completely all these units would be rentals. Next here. So on these ones, as you can see here, 8 residential units, total of 16 units, or 8 units on each floor, total of 16 units on the main residential levels. It did have underground parking as well, but 2 bedroom units. Each contains 2 spacious bedrooms and is located at ends of 2 buildings at the end. They will be slightly larger. Another issue with this one is trying to make them match, because that was originally trying to save one of the buildings. And when we're not doing that, the cost on that is going to be exponential, trying to match the buildings in order for it to look appropriate. The underground parking, that's thrown in there due to parking constraints on the streets, so we don't cloud it up. Here is the original layout. So you can see on here, it L'd across 9th and 4th. And then where we tied into the building that we left at the top right of your screen up there. And then the carriage corner is the building on the top left. Where the drive and interest and everything, this is where that blue house currently sits. Same thing elevated just with Google Earth photo. So yes, Habitat Humanity has been in contact, I think with Goodwin Movers. They trying to get the house relocated, so it's not just demoed and gone away with. We're completely open to anything that we can do to help facilitate saving as much of it as possible. We'll keep working through that. Like I said, it's unfortunately we have to get it relocated to make the site work. Where we pivoted to is the row housing. These are more geared towards the families, people that go to your schools. Like this is single homes. We've got 7 of them. You have 7 of these buildings all tied together. They step down as they go. They're actually pretty spacious. There's 2 levels that we plan on furnishing right off the bat. The upper level, I can go on the next slide. The upper level is 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. Lower level has a half bath. And there is an unfinished basement level that's roughly 700 to 800 square foot that can be utilized as well. With these, we plan on doing a combination of pre-sold and market rate rentals. Now, it will be a slightly elevated market rate, simply because as we go back to the previous slides about how much money it costs just to get the building salvageable, like those are just costs that you typically don't have in new construction. Each unit has a single stall garage with a driveway that has room for parking for 1 vehicle. So again, we alleviate the parking on the streets. This is a concept that Gary put together for us in the back. If numbers and everything work out appropriately, our goal is to have a greenery space in the back here. It's just trying to, push it towards pedestrians and community, like uplifting the area, making everyone like just a better off area that everyone likes to see. This is the design layout for this one. Again, 7 blended units, 2 to 4 bedrooms. There'll be 2 full baths and a half bath, with the addition of a possible 4th bedroom or bathrooms in the lower level. Here's our milestone targets, everything. This will be something we can discuss. I'm sure you guys have questions, and we'll get more into that through the questions, I imagine.
Okay, you ready for questions?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So can you go back to I think the last slide you showed, no, the last one prior to that? So the 2 houses that you mentioned saving, those would remain.
Those are the 2 at the top of your screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And so it's along 9th Street that all of these would be located. And so it still would require removal of the blue house. Okay.
Correct.
And these would be owner occupied? Or
The intention is that we're
rental?
going to pre-sell. We want to do a combination of both, pre-sell them and rent them out, whatever buildings are left. Obviously, if we utilize the tax credits, we will meet the requirements that are given to us for that as well.
Okay. So the goal is to have some of them rented and some of them sold
We haven't worked through all the financials of that yet, but yes, as of right now, that is the theory we're rolling with.
Okay. Questions? Go ahead.
Yeah, first, thank you everybody for being here tonight. This has been I know this has been a long project. I know this has been a complicated project, as is most things in preservation. I mean, yeah, we were talking about this since I was at the Gazette. I appreciate the continued focus to try to preserve what's left. I know the derecho presented a challenge, but realistically, time isn't a friend to buildings that are sitting empty and vacant. My question kind of concern. You know, I'm open to both the options still. Still need to learn more. I think as you guys find out more with the numbers, because this neighborhood is really important. Important to me. It's in my district, my ward. What do you guys see as being? You said kind of that market rate, slightly elevated market rate. Is there a number range that you look at when you look at option A versus option B of what like the rent cost would be for folks?
A lot, again, depends on if we utilize the cracks tax credit, obviously, so we can meet those requirements. Outside of that, for these particular buildings, we're looking at the budget of about 3.5 to 4 million. The other one is 5 to 6 million. The micro apartment object, I think we were landing around between the 9 and 1,100. Now there's different ways we can do the build outs though. There's a couple single bedrooms, a couple double bedrooms. Obviously that'll factor into that. These, depending on the basement's finished or not, will be somewhere between the 325, 425 range we imagine. There is actually a significant amount of square footage, especially if you finish the basement. It pushes it over the 2,000 square foot mark, so.
Okay. And how many, so I know it was on the slide previously, how many bedrooms were in these ones?
So there's 3 right now as is, with the potential to put egress windows in the basement, and we can add another down there, yeah.
Okay. Thank
As
you.
well, this plan, so we have the 7 on the brownstones. We're also finishing the carriage corner and also the other west end building too. So those would both be single family dwellings as well.
What would you expect those to go for with all the renovations, with all the work that's put in there?
Love the question.
Yeah, yes.
Love the question.
That's fair.
At this time, I do not know.
Yeah.
We're still not 100% certain on the extent of the repair, because until we actually get Seedorf in there and get the structure back up, because we have to completely redo, not even keep an elevation. We have to drop everything inside the building. And if we can utilize the lower foundation, like I said, Joe actually did a really great job. There's 10-foot deep basements in there and foundations are wide. We don't know how much of that is usable though for new like city ordinances and whatnot.
Yeah. My only concern with the houses in this option is preservation was kind of the whole point from the get-go. So we, you know, once it's sold to the next person, it's kind of like it's up to them what happens potentially. And that's kind of the concern that I have in the long term, because these houses are, I think, really important to everyone in this room, based off all the effort that's gone into them, including obviously you guys. So that's just kind of what is in my mind as we continue to talk about this.
Okay.
Great. Yeah, can you back up a couple of slides where you're showing another one? Yeah, I think that would be good.
Maybe this or this one?
No. So I just want to have clarity. In this depiction, maybe this isn't the right view. Let me get my bearings. 9th, 4th. The 2 buildings on 4th that are shown.
Yep.
Those would remain, and the objective is to rehab those.
The upper right one would remain.
Okay.
The lower right one would not.
Okay. And with the lower right one being demoed, that then creates space for your option B.
Yes, that and the far house on the left.
Both options, that house would be removed.
Okay.
Both options, A and B.
So the house on the left, lower left, I'll say, is that structurally sound and I guess valid for movement?
They're assessing that at the moment.
Yeah.
Okay.
They've been in and out a couple times so far and getting it assessed to see how to go about moving it.
Okay.
Moment. I think it was a couple weeks back they were there.
Okay.
Yep.
Thanks. You cleared up a bit of fuzziness for me there. Thanks.
Yep.
Well,
I'm not sure how I feel about the option B or 2. I mean, I'll be honest, I don't like the look of the first option. The look of that with the apartments. Plus, we are looking to have more owner occupied in this neighborhood. The layout, I mean, I love that, but I don't know if I like how it's laid out on just facing Ninth. And then I'm not sure what you would do with the two historic homes or the carriage house and the home, because you're gonna take, you showed green space behind there, but somehow you have to get someone into that carriage house. I'm sure you're gonna want a garage on both of them to increase the value for when you do resell them. I'm not sure how you're gonna do that. I also would like to make the point that, in my opinion, if you have some owner occupied and some rentals in that building right there, you're gonna lower the value for the value of the owner occupied units, because they're in a combination with rentals that will bring down your sale price, basically your value of the home. So I love the idea of the row homes, I really do, and owner occupied. I just didn't like the way it was all laid out, and I don't have an answer to say how we'll do it this way instead without looking at it more. So
We're kind of bound a little bit by the site map a little
right,
bit.
I totally get that. I totally get it.
Certain areas, so totally understand. And we're still working through the
Yeah.
single family occupied versus rental. That's still up in the air.
Yeah, I would love to see single family occupied.
Yep.
I don't know if there's a way to build around the corner and kind of.
It was part of the original concept, but we won't be able, there's not enough space to make enough units where the project's going to make sense. Just because there is all that significant starting cost that you don't have if this was an
Right.
empty piece of land.
Right.
Like, just trying to get, we're just uncertain because trying to get the ROI for the project. Obviously, we all want it to look good and want to bring it up to historical, but it's got to make sense for the owner as well.
Of course.
So-
And that's why I think if you didn't have rentals in there, you would help bring the value up to get your return on.
Design input pre-build is the first priority. That would be our first priority there, because that helps finance the whole project.
Sure.
It makes it easier for us. So, yeah, agree with that.
I don't know if there is a way to make a couple more along the
We tried that.
4th Avenue, and
It doesn't quite flow with also that west facing house. It gets really close. I know.
Too close with.
Yeah, I know Gary,
Yeah.
we've tried to figure that out.
Yeah.
We've tasked Gary with that and he's told us no multiple times.
It gets really close with the other house.
Yeah.
And it just wouldn't.
You lose 2 units, obviously, where you turn the corner. That's really fundamentally the big issue.
Sure. Oh, maybe the carriage house could be an auxiliary building for the front house, maybe the garage. I don't know. I've not been in the carriage house, so I don't know how it is set up inside. So no, okay. I don't know.
We can make it so you can pull a carriage through it again, though.
Yeah.
Steve.
So when you talked about owner occupied and you talked about rental, you talking about everything here, the houses as well as the townhomes? I mean, you're looking at that mix for everything here?
So we just haven't figured out exactly the financial aspect of it yet. So as we would like to do as much pre-sold, but that's a conversation we're going to have with Joe based on his long-term projection of what he wants and what he wants to get back as a ROI on the project.
Okay. If you want my input is pretty much in line with Will's. Again, I never really was super excited about the first plan, dropping those apartments right in the middle of what I consider basically a single-family neighborhood. So if you were to move more on this route and they were owner occupied, I would certainly have a fuller support of that. I also do support anything you can do to get that blue house moved so that somebody can maybe use that somewhere else where we've got an empty lot in the city. That's been also, an area that we've been promoting and the mayor's been promoting and doing as a city. So again, owner occupied is the direction that I would support. Thanks.
I have anything? Okay. I guess I feel the same way. I like this better than the first iteration. Joe knows and the staff know sort of the emotional energy I put into saving those the 2 original houses from the former library block, and do appreciate what went into saving those, and I don't discount that. It's really unfortunate that one of them is deemed not savable. Although I think everything is savable, but I understand the economics of everything, but, you know, so I can live with not having that house, remain. The blue house, you know, it's not listed on the National Register, but it's eligible. And it has a lot of stories and significant history, with Marion. I also would love to just make sure we've done everything we can to save that house. I initiated the contacts with Habitat, and I have been following up, and will continue kind of independently following up to do whatever I can to help provide a way to save that house. We are focused on trying to save as much of our affordable housing stock as we can, because it's limited. And, you know, with the average cost of a new home in Marion, well over $400,000, 480, I think. You know, it's important that we try to save these owner-occupied single-family homes so that we have those options remain in our community. I am very appreciative of all the efforts to try to find someone to move that house. Was that the cost that you showed? Was that the 30 to 50,000? Was that for demolition or relocation? That's demolition.
For demo.
That's the demo cost. Okay. Yeah. And then, so that's for demo, and then that includes disposal?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. You know, maybe there's a way that that can be put towards relocation. Just a suggestion. But overall, I'm in favor of the second option. And owner occupied would be preferable. So that's kind of where right now, without knowing more,
Yeah, for sure.
where I stand, yeah. But I do appreciate all the effort and the attempts to try to come up with a workable solution. It's not unnoticed, so thank you. Anyone else?
Mayor,
Yes.
it sounds just so that the Hill team here has a clear direction. Is that what I'm hearing everybody, for the most part, I'm hearing everybody say that option B is one that we should continue to explore? Yes.
I think so. And
Okay.
yeah, I don't want to speak for Council Member Menser, but I think she'd be more in favor of the row house option too.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just really quick, if I can talk to staff. Our the development team has got some basic direction. Is there another contemplated checkpoint with the city council? So we can kind of make sure we got a status update to them because we've heard some feedback, just make sure that kind of coming back in and making sure that it's hitting a.
Yes, I think definitely one of the steps would be, if depending on what direction they go, owner occupied or whether it's rental, the townhouse concept is something that would qualify for workforce housing. And there is a grant application that's coming up on June 10th. So once they determine exactly which way they're going, that would be an application. And so then we would come back and ask for that letter of support. And so they'd have more details for you then.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hello, Mayor and council members. My name is Faith Platson, and I have officially been the city's event planner for 1 year today. I'm excited to share what we accomplished in our 2025 season and share with you what we have planned for 2026. So in our 2025 season, the city hosted 60 events and had an estimated 25,700 attendees. With the help of our sponsors, we raised $46,000 for the 2025 season, and we had 32 sponsors and community partners that supported our events. In 2025, we partnered with Uptown Marion and Farmer State Bank to hold our first annual Marion Monster Mash. This brand new event brought in nearly 2,000 community members and surrounding families together in City Square Park. We also added new activities to our existing events. We added photo booths to our Music Under the Moon concert series, which let attendees create a memorable experience. Plus, they had something to bring home from the events. It was also a great way to showcase our sponsors because they could be on the photo booth printout. We added additional kids activities to our Fireworks and Fireflies event, including a petting zoo, inflatables, music, food trucks, and face painting. So we now have a whole kid zone on the Irish Drive side of the park. Fireworks and Fireflies is a beloved event in Marion and is the city's largest event of the season. In 2025, we had 12,000 people at the park throughout the whole day, which is 2,000 more than 2024. We could not bring this event together without the amazing vendors that helped create a great event experience. We had 25 local vendors participate in this event last year. A lot of them were food trucks. From our post-event survey, the food trucks reported great sales and were able to interact with the community members. Public safety was also a big goal of 2025, and the city had multiple meetings with multiple different departments to create a safety plan and prepare for such a large event. Thank you to Fire, Police, and Public Works who coordinated a big part of the emergency plan. Events are a great way to make a lasting impact on our community. We pride ourselves on offering free and accessible events to all families. We have a wide range of attendees at our events with a lot of cross-generational engagement. Our events are for everyone and create lasting family traditions. Our events would not run without our amazing volunteers, especially for Fireworks and Fireflies. We appreciate all our volunteers and event committee members that helped carry out our 2025 event season. We had so much positive feedback from our community, whether in person or online. Families and community members love Marion events. Some that stand out to me are from our Taylor Swift tribute concert. We got to create a unique experience for attendees to be able to meet the artists after the show. And we had a lot of positive feedback about that one. Along with our Monster Mash, we had multiple families make comments about how they appreciated everything was free at the event. We had some parents even say that they weren't able to get pumpkins this year, and we were able to provide that for those families. So looking ahead to 2026, we're building on the momentum of 2025, and we are planning with intention. So to maintain our free and accessible events, we need to grow sponsorships. We've done this with our community partners and sponsors through in-person interactions in our new sponsorship booklet that we created this year. We hand-delivered these to local businesses, creating a personal relationship, and we also are updating our sponsors throughout the planning process to show them where their sponsorship is going. Safety is a high priority. In fiscal year 2027, we'll be purchasing new barricades, which will make closing Festival Street easier and safer. We will continue to work closely with Fire PD and Public Works on this aspect. We're increasing community engagement through face-to-face interactions at our events and through our Facebook page. In 2025, we gained 2.3 thousand followers, and our page visits went up by 164%. We plan to measure and track our events more intentionally this year using Placer AI data to get more accurate attendance levels.
Could you go back? What is paid visits?
What is what?
You said-
So like how many people visited our Facebook page, this Parks and Rec Marion page.
Thanks for clarifying.
So then this is just a quick overview of our 2026 event lineup. We started off the year partnering with the YMCA for Healthy Kids Day and Marion City Showcase. And then we'll be ending our event season partnering with Uptown Marion for the Monster Mash. So we have a few new events coming this year. We're kicking off our 250th celebration of our country with the Veterans Military Band concert on June 13th. We're in the process of working with the Cedar Rapids Community Orchestra to bring new entertainment to Loud Park. And we're continuing the momentum of the Monster Mash and expanding the event into the Festival Street. We're making our Kid Zone for fireworks and fireflies bigger and better this year by adding live music from School of Rock new partnerships. One of these partnerships is with AirFX, who will be providing their rock climbing wall and trampolines for people to enjoy for free. So we couldn't do all this without our sponsors. We have 20 returning sponsors that have continued to support our Marion events over the years, and we have 8 new sponsors. Our sponsorship goal for all events in 2026 is $48,500, which offsets 38% of the event budget, and then Hotel Motel will cover the rest. Our goal for fireworks and fireflies is $25,000, which we've already surpassed that goal at $28,000. Sponsors in Hotel Motel make our goal possible to provide these free and accessible events for everyone. Our events are more than entertainment. They strengthen Marion's economy, partnerships, and sense of community, and I'm so excited to be a part of that in Marion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Excellent job.
Any questions?
Questions? Go ahead, Gage.
Not a question per se, but more of just an overall comment. Not even from like a city council perspective, just from a Marion resident perspective. It's one of the things I think I'm most proud of to live in Marion is like to see how much community we're able to cultivate and what you were able to do and other people on the city team that put together all these events and our partners. We hear about, one of the things I hear about the most from growing up here to where we are today is like there's so much to do throughout the warm months in Marion and now the winter months too.
Yeah.
But I just really appreciate that because I think it's more important than ever to create these spaces to allow neighbors to come together and interact face to face and around common events. So just really appreciate the work that everyone's doing on the city team with all these events. It's kind of unreal to see.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I think we all agree. One of our greatest points of pride is the events that we have throughout the year. And it really does help us create community and give people that opportunity to feel like they're part of a great place and that there are things to do for themselves and for them and their families. And appreciate all the work that goes into it because it's definitely one of the things that's making Marion a desirable place to live. So thanks for all the good work.
Thank you.
Okay, so as we all know, this is a combined work session and formal meeting. So moving into our formal part of the meeting, our first item is the public forum. There are 2 public forums at these meetings. The first one is for comments from members of the public on any item that is on the agenda but not part of a public hearing. If anyone has comments to make for a public hearing item, there will be time during the public hearing. And then there will be a second public forum at the end of the meeting for all other comments. I would like to review the rules of procedure for the public forums. If you plan to address the city council, please complete the yellow card at the end of the table by the door and hand it to the city clerk before you speak. Please do not approach the dais where the council sits. If you have handouts, please submit them to the city clerk who will then deliver them to the council. Please step up to the microphone at the podium and speak into the microphone as the meetings are recorded. Please do not make any disparaging remarks regarding any individual. Keep your comments pertinent to the topic at hand. Please know that you'll be provided 5 minutes maximum to make comments. Please do not engage in any conduct or speech that is imminently threatening to any person or which incites violence or which is obscene. Please avoid repeating comments or points made by prior speakers. Please do not engage in conduct that disrupts the orderly progress of the meeting or engage in speech or conduct which interferes with the other people's ability to participate in the meeting. Failure to adhere to these guidelines or engaging in any disruptive speech or behavior will, after a warning, result in removal from the meeting. We appreciate everyone's cooperation and adhering to these guidelines. So at this time, the first public forum is open, which is the time set aside for comments from members of the public on any topic that is listed on the agenda but not associated with the public hearing. Anyone here to address council, please come forward. welcome.
Good evening. I want to take you through a brief evolution of landfills.
Would you please
that-
state your name and address if you can, please? Please state your name.
Oh,
Yeah.
Ed Mulholland, 4740 Fairways Court.
Thank you.
A brief evolution of landfills going back to the first recorded one. Somehow they traced it back to 3000 BC. Now I'm going to bring you up into the United States. In the 1930s, the first modern sanitary landfill was established in Fresno, California, and that consisted of dumping waste into trenches. You compact it with the bulldozer, and then you cover it with dirt every day. Sanitary landfills became a preferred alternative in the late 1940s throughout the United States. It wasn't until 1965 and then 76 that Congress enacted the shift from open dumping to regulated sanitary landfills to modernize them. Then in the 1980s and 90s, incinerators were built to burn the garbage, and that was modern at the time. The next evolution of landfills is waste to energy facilities. According to AI, waste to energy facilities convert 13% of the nation's waste at 77 locations. What has been discovered is that most, if not all of the waste that we have buried for decades has become a valuable commodity that can be turned into useful products. That brings us up to May 2026. Reading over the 4 documents that we all received and probably read, I was surprised because I was thinking that innovation and technology would be a top priority. But my reading of it, and my conclusion was that it was not. For example, the word diversion within the 4 documents, by my count, was used 16 times, and the word technology was used 4 times. Now, there is a clause in the bylaws, I hope you all read, it's section Roman numeral 7, part A, number 2, technology subcommittee. To me, it didn't sound like a strong push for implementation of innovation and technology. My surprise is that I expected something stronger. So I am concerned that the status quo of burying garbage in the landfill will continue for years to come. I'm skeptical that the new governing board will have the vision to make such a change because, and we all know, the easiest path to follow for any organization or the people within is to keep doing the same thing over and over for years and even decades. I really hope that you agree that waste should be processed very differently. Let's turn the waste into something useful and productive for the citizens of Lynn County. In fact, we should demand it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Mulholland. Anyone else address council, please come forward.
Yeah, good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council. I'm Eric Miles, 7610 Normandy Drive, Northeast Cedar Rapids. Marion is my backyard, and I've been involved in various volunteer activities in Marion for the past 40 years or more. I belong to a group called Waste Not Iowa, and our motto in the past, for the past 20 years, has been why bury energy? Instead of in my backyard, we focused on identifying solutions to landfilling that happens locally. As you know, we've been following the progress of the new governance for the waste agency. A lot of work has gone into it, and we appreciate the interaction we've had with the city. The environment has changed over the past few years with increased local and national demand for reliable energy resources. At the same time, Lynn County has been running out of capacity to landfill its waste. Waste energy not only means incineration to make electricity, there are other technologies and products that can be manufactured from waste products. These need to be studied and analyzed as more beneficial than landfilling. Our group is learning about these possible alternatives. Products such as hydrogen, ethanol, ammonia, electric power, and other products with less environmental impact than landfilling can be produced. There are also processes for municipal solid waste to neutralize the more problematic items in waste. It's time to look into the possibilities of alternatives and the partnerships that could be a solution to our waste disposal. One only needs to drive to Southwest Cedar Rapids to appreciate the need for energy, and we have a source to make it. Can a conversation begin to form partnerships? I have read the documents and would suggest passage of almost all of them. There needs to be a new governance. Right now, there's really no entity to make ongoing planning decisions. The current board is a lame duck, and the county and cities would hesitate. While seeking alternative opportunities would be more explicit in the documents, a new board and committee structure is needed. I would suggest the amendment to the 2006 settlement agreement, though, be tabled until an unbiased analysis of promising alternatives is completed to see if an expansion is really needed. Possibly 1 year from the time a new board could be seated might be adequate. We've been told that the new governance structure once the new governance structure has been approved, the Marion City Council would then consider expansion of the current landfill footprint. It takes time to obtain information to consider alternatives that might result in current capacity being needed or adequate for the future using alternate technologies. The HDR study for the Forward 2044 is a start, but dated, and does not really consider current revenue opportunities other than tipping fees. It also assumes the waste agency would do this on its own. Alliances or partnerships were not considered. Solid waste has a monetary value. We need to understand the pros and cons of various opportunities as they are now or are expected to exist and be driven by Marion while it still has leverage. This advantage may not be available later. Let's look for a win-win solution. We would also hope that persons appointed by Marion to be on the new waste agency board will always proactively consider how things can be done better and look for alternatives, continuous improvement. Waste Iowa has some experience and would help in any way we can, and our interest will be continuing. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else address council, please come forward.
Frank Sherman, 4170 Canton Court here in Marion. This will be pretty brief. I'm just going to give a kind of a recap of the things I've contacted council and staff about the landfill over the last couple of months. I had mentioned that the composition of the potential new governance board is imbalanced. One entity has a controlling voting interest when that should not exist according to the original MOU provisions. That burying waste in the ground and transferring waste to another state is not a good solution and is not environmentally friendly. That the criteria set in place by the current board for the Forward 2044 study and the study itself is now 5 years old and needs to be updated to allow a look at new technology. That the landfill capacity is a valuable resource to protect, since it is a safety valve for emergencies such as tornadoes, floods, derechos, et cetera, that require disposal of large amounts of waste in a short matter of time. That a transition to technology is the answer to handling the municipal solid waste stream and should be started as a pilot project in the near future and gradually replace landfilling. Don't wait until the landfill space is almost used up. Start looking at it now. By the way, the Solid Waste Agency does have authority to do pilot programs. The new governance board should also include a charge to rigorously investigate and research new technology as a board level responsibility, not just a subcommittee responsibility. that the city of Marion should require an intense review of current and new technology within 1 year of the new board takeover and make a decision on expansion after that review is completed. And a reminder that Marion and the other parties already have a settlement agreement which says that the landfill shall be closed when the landfill meets the limits stated in the agreement. And finally, as for the landfill itself, it appears to be well run and cared for, but the transition to technology should be started now. The current plan is transferring waste to another state when the landfill fills to capacity. And as I remember from reading the Forward 2044 study, the transportation cost alone for 1 year is $5 million, transmitting it to another state. That money could be better spent on technology. I'm going to switch subjects on you if you don't mind. I know Sandy was here from Horizons NTS. I have a granddaughter that's on the autism spectrum. She lives here in Marion and works here in Marion, and she takes the transit bus in to work, and she works until about 10 in the evening. She uses NTS transportation back from work to home. She lives independently, and she loves her independence, and this really helps. They have an app on the phone that you have, and you can schedule the rides on the app. And after work, they have a 30-minute window, and they will get to you in a 30-minute window, and the van will automatically contact her by text and say we're 15 minutes out, we're 5 minutes out, et cetera. And she can also, on that app on the phone, watch the van travel from where it's been and how close it is to where she works. So a big shout out to Sandy and the staff down there. I've worked with them on a couple issues, and they're great to work with. And it's a valuable thing for all the people that can't drive. So appreciate it. And thank you very much. I spent the last couple of months talking a lot with Ryan, Steve, and Grant. They received most of my questions and comments.
30 seconds remaining.
And have responded in kind, very kindly. And we really appreciate working with them. This is a tough decision for y'all, and we hope you make the right one. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. Anyone else address council? Please come forward.
Agenda item.
This is the time to make comments on anything that's on the agenda, but not part of a public hearing. And then if there's other comments that are not on the agenda, that will be at the end of the meeting. There's another time period set aside for that. Thank you. Anyone to address council on any topic that is on the agenda, but not part of a public hearing, please come forward. Okay, we'll close this part of the meeting and proceed to the consent agenda.
Mayor, I move to approve the consent agenda as follows. Items A1 through E1, resolutions 32823 through 32830.
Second. Been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as presented, including items A1 through E1, resolutions 32823 through 32830. Discussion, I know we have one comment by Mike.
Yes, Your Honor. I just wanted to bring attention, item D3 under Public Works. With this, we were able to obtain all property required for the Albernet Road project without going through eminent domain. And with this, it will be put on the August letting schedule through the DOT. That saved us 1 month of, we had 1 month to spare, and we would have lost $7 million. So that is a big success. We had a lot of days where it might have been 1 step forward and 5 back, but we are going to be able to move forward with that project. So I wanted to celebrate that win.
Yeah. Okay, appreciate the staff's diligence in making that happen. Any other discussion on the consent agenda? All those in favor of approving the consent agenda as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. The motion is approved. For the next item, I'll turn over the meeting to Mayor Pro Tem.
Mayor Pro Tem, I move consent agenda with Mayor Abdullah abstention as follows. Item D1, Resolution 32831.
Second. We've got a motion and a second to approve item D1, resolution number 32831. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda with Mayor Abu Osley's abstention, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. It is approved with one abstention. We'll move the meeting back to the mayor.
Thank you. Next item is a public hearing on the 2026 storm sewer project. The public hearing is now open. We'll take the presentation.
Yes, Your Honor. So this is our annual storm sewer project. This project is on 26th Avenue from 24th Street to 27th Street on the north side, Westview Drive from South 8th Street to South 11th Street on the north side, 4th Avenue from 27th Street to 31st Street on the south side, and the southwest corner of 62nd Street and Beale Court, as well as 15th Street culvert and storm sewer south of 2nd Avenue. This does include curb and gutter replacement as part of the project, storm sewer subdrain, and then we are coordinating with the water department to relay water main on 4th Avenue so that we have one contractor in there disturbing the residents at once. We did receive some good bids on this project. The low bid is from Rachi Construction at $325,882, 83.9% of the engineer's estimate. It has an early and late start date, meaning they need to start between those timelines with 48 working days and $1,000 per day in working for liquidated damages. So we are recommending proceeding with the project and the bids.
Thank you. At this time, the public hearing is open. If anyone is here to address council, either in favor or in opposition to this measure, please come forward. Did we receive any comments outside the meeting?
I have not received any.
We have not.
Please note that for the record. And we'll close the public hearing, proceed to the motion.
Mayor, I move to approve the project calendar regarding the 2026 storm sewer project as follows. This will be resolution numbers 32832 through 32833.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the project calendar for the 2026 storm sewer project, including resolutions 32832 to 32833. Discussion, questions for staff? Go ahead, Grant.
Mike, just for the record, so that we understand the full scope. So this is obviously the storm sewer work, but then there's where necessary, water department will be taking care of things they need to do. And also where necessary, we have curb replacement going on. Is that kind of the total scope?
Correct. So a lot of times what we find is when we put the drain tile, which is right at the back of curb, if there is no curb or limited curb, it tends to fall in on us. So we combine the curb program that we do have annually with this project. And then it just so happened that on 4th Avenue, they have a lot of water main breaks in that area. So having one contractor there doing everything at once under one contract, so we collaborate with the water department.
Yeah, okay, good, thanks.
Yep.
Anyone else? Okay, we'll vote. All those in favor of approving the project calendar for the 2026 storm sewer project, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, please say no. The motion is approved. Next item is a public hearing on the 2026 minor pavement patching project. We'll open the public hearing and take the report from staff, and then we'll take public comments.
Yes, Your Honor. So this is our minor pavement patching project. So this is in 3 locations, Ham Drive, 24th Avenue from 35th Street to Stratford Drive and Jasper Street. These are from our payment management funds. We did receive bids on this one as well. The bid packet's in your council packet. The low bid was from Cedar Falls Construction at $269,624. 80.5% of the engineer's estimate has a late start date of 8/17/26, 40 working days, and liquidated damages in the amount of $1,000 per day. We are recommending proceeding with the plans and the bids for this project.
Thank you. At this time, the public hearing is open. If anyone is here to address council, either in favor or in opposition to this measure, please come forward. We'll ask the staff again if we've received comments outside the meeting.
I have not received any.
We have not.
Please note that for the record. We'll close the public hearing. Proceed to the motion.
Mayor, I move to approve project calendar regarding the 2026 minor pavement patching project as follows resolutions 32834 through 32835.
Second. It has been moved and seconded to approve the project calendar for the 2026 minor pavement patching project, including resolutions 32834 and 32835. Discussions or questions for staff? Okay, all those in favor of approving the project calendar for the 2026 minor patching project, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. The motion is approved. The next item is a public hearing on the Public Safety Training Center Electrical and Monument Package. We'll open the public hearing and take our report. Go ahead.
Yep. Your Honor, so this was the monument sign that we were putting in for the dedication of the family that gave the funding that was named at the last council meeting. Unfortunately, due to timing with a lot of the contractors, we actually received no bids for this project. So we've made contacts with the contractors and we will work with the fire department to pivot and strategize how we can get this project moving forward, whether we have to split the bid or what the best course of action is to keep this moving forward. So at this time, we have no bids. So I would recommend having the hearing, close it, and then we will come back with a project calendar in the future.
Okay, then will that require a public hearing again?
It will.
It will, okay. All right, so the public hearing is open. If anyone's here to address council on this measure, please come forward. And I'm assuming we didn't receive any comments outside the meeting since there were no bids.
I have received none.
No comments.
Okay. We'll close the public hearing. You have a comment?
Well, I had a
Question?
question
Okay.
regarding this since we didn't have a resolution corresponding.
Right. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. So does this delay, I guess I'd call it, Chief, does this impact your training ops in any way?
It doesn't impact our training, but it will impact the ribbon cutting. We intend to do the ribbon cutting after the construction of the monument. And so some of the conversation that we've had on the next steps is to expedite the focus of the construction of the monument to where we can get that ribbon cutting completed, but it will not impact training.
Okay, but there was no electrical activity associated with the structures themselves, correct?
There is to one. So the tower does have electrical to it for some lighting in there and also the theatrical smoke machine that's inside. But we are still able to do training evolutions while that is still to come.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, any other questions? All right, we'll proceed to community development.
Yes, Your Honor, I move to approve ordinance number 26-06, approving of amendments to chapter 340, 8.3 sign regulations of the Marion Code of Ordinances related to marquees and electronic message centers. And this is our final consideration.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the final consideration of ordinance number 26-06, approving amendments to chapter 340, 8.3, the sign regulations of the Code of Ordinances related to marquees and electronic message centers. Discussion? All those in favor of approving the final consideration of ordinance number 26-06, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The motion is approved.
Mayor, I move to approve ordinance number 26-07, approving amendment to ordinance number 24-21 regarding the Marion Enterprise Center design guidelines for property generally located south of Highway 151 and east of 62nd Street, Marion, Iowa. And this is Marion Economic Development Company. Final consideration.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the final consideration of ordinance number 26-07, approving the amendment to ordinance number 24-21 regarding the Marion Enterprise Center design guidelines. Discussion. Okay, all those in favor of approving the final consideration of ordinance number 26-07, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. The motion is approved. The next item is a public hearing on the preliminary site development plan for the neighborhood mixed-use commercial building located east of 35th Street and north of 35th Avenue. We have a presentation. Go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. This is a preliminary site development plan for a neighborhood mixed-use commercial building in a PUD. The site layout consists of a single-story commercial building with internal parking on site and pedestrian connectivity. These building placement and setbacks comply with the neighborhood at Indian Creek design guidelines. The site plan also shows future phase for a proposed drive-through along the north, a 3,360 square foot commercial building, and additional parking. The north and south elevations show varied roof lines, changes in materials, and articulated facades that help break up building mass and help avoid a monolithic appearance. The east elevation and west elevation further demonstrate facade articulation through vertical elements, window placement, and material variation. These renderings here help illustrate how different viewpoints the building will be seen. And as shown, the design maintains a cohesive architectural theme that aligns with the design guidelines at the neighborhood at Indian Creek. During the Planning and Zoning Commission review process, staff did receive comments. The primary concerns related in these comments were the drive-through, building placement, and access. The drive-through is not included in the final site development plan. If in the future, if it is pursued, it would require a conditional use and allowing for a more detailed review and opportunity to address those concerns at that time. I would like to conclude that along with staff recommendation that the Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend approval 6-0 at their April meeting. Thank you.
Okay, the public hearing is open. If anyone is here to address council on this item, either in favor or in opposition, please come forward.
Good evening, council. I'm Jed Schnorr, the civil engineer on the project, and I believe the architects here, we'd be happy to try to answer any questions if you may have any from us.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else to address council? Did we receive comments outside the meeting?
I have not received any.
Did you receive comments outside the meeting?
No, just the two during the Planning and Zoning Commission review process.
Okay. All right, we'll close the public hearing for the voting on the resolutions. I will turn over the meeting to Mayor Pro Tem.
Mayor Pro Tem, I move to approve resolution number 32836, approving a preliminary site development plan for neighborhood mixed-use commercial building located at 3512 35th Avenue, Marion, Iowa, John Morris.
Second.
We got a motion and a second to approve resolution number 32836, approving the preliminary site development plan for a neighborhood mixed-use commercial building located at 3512 35th Avenue. Questions or comments?
Yeah.
Grant.
Thank you. So on this proposed view, the building that is on the south, the south on 35th, that's a future building, would that be the one subject to potential drive-through?
No, sir. It is the building in brown that is part of this first phase.
Okay.
Yes, the drive-through will be to the north, and there's a proposed window there on the building, on
Okay, I
that
see
north
that.
elevation.
Okay, thank you.
I think I did reach out to staff about one question I had, which is basically looking at one of the letters talked about that the back of the building would be backing up to 35th Street, is that correct? And how, based on the architectural renderings and all of that, that basically the front of the building and the back of the building are going to look pretty much the same, based upon what you showed us. And I think that was one of the questions in one of the letters, one of the questions that I had. And so that is also following in line. Although the front of the building will be on the parking lot side, the back of the building still has the same appearance and look as the front of the building. So I think that's something that was kind of important for me to note and follow up on. So appreciate your feedback on that.
Okay.
Any other questions? Seeing none. Seeing none, all those in favor of approving resolution number 32836 for the preliminary site development plan, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Abstention?
Aye.
The resolution 32836 is approved with one abstention.
Mayor Pro Tem, I move to approve resolution number 32837, approving a final site development plan for a neighborhood mixed-use commercial building located at 3512 35th Avenue, Marion, Iowa, John Morris.
Second.
We got a motion and a second to approve resolution number 32837 for the final site development plan for the neighborhood mixed-use commercial building. So basically, the final site plan and the preliminary are exactly the same. Is that correct?
The final site plan does remove the drive-through because it does
Okay.
have to go through that conditional use.
Got you.
Your darker elements shown on the final site plan is what is part of this phase now. Your lighter gray is what a future.
Thank you for that clarification. Appreciate that. Any further discussion? Will?
In the future, if there is a request for that drive-through, does that come back to council?
It'll go It'll go through the conditional use process, which is Planning and Zoning Commission and Zoning Board.
It would not come back to us.
Through the final site development plan, you would see it with that, but not the conditional use itself. But you will still see one more step with that drive-through and future building with elevations.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving resolution number 32837 for the final site development plan, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Any abstention?
Aye.
The resolution 32837 is approved with one abstention. I'll move the meeting back to the mayor. Thank you.
The next item is a discussion regarding the Cedar Rapids Lynn County Solid Waste Agency Working Group final recommendations. City Manager.
Hi, Mayor, Council, thank you. We are back before you regarding the recommendations from regarding the governance structure that came out of the working group that was established by the MOU that was approved by council on February 5th. That is the only matter that is up for council's direction today is the working group recommendations. Per the MOU, we had to present the recommendations immediately following our last meeting, which was, I think we presented that to council February 27th. That was, or I'm sorry, we presented it March 3rd. That was the first meeting following. So in the spirit of the MOU, we had to present it to the council. And then since that time, we've been conducting tours of the landfill to provide folks with an opportunity to see the operations, see what we're talking about, get the lay of the land. We do have one more tour set up for May 11th for a couple of council members. And then the chamber and Medco attended the one on May 1st, and I believe that there might be some more from Medco that would attend on May 11th. We did include, and there was some reference to the legal documents, the bylaws, the 28E, the expansion, during public comment. Those were included in the packet for complete transparency. That is not up for council consideration, but we felt that it was important to include those in the packet. When we first presented it to council and sought your feedback on that, we wanted to make sure council saw those documents as they incorporated the various feedback that we heard from you when we presented those recommendations. The rest of this presentation is going to look very familiar. This is who served on the working group that was convened following the appointment or the approval of the MOU. I had the pleasure of serving alongside Councilman Harper as Team Marion's representatives on this working group. We'll just quickly go through. I know we've seen this before, but regarding the board structure, voting thresholds, the subcommittees, and the program priorities. The board structure is listed up here. Currently, the city of Cedar Rapids has 6 appointments that comes from within the city government itself. As part of the recommendation and trying to incorporate the larger industrial user, having the city of Cedar Rapids appoint that additional seat, but it must be a large industrial user. Marion's seats would go from 1 to 3, Lynn County's 2 to 3, and then incorporation of the small community. Contrary to what has been spoken, the city of Cedar Rapids does not maintain a majority. The appointment of, well, they do appoint the large industrial user, that is not a representative of the city of Cedar Rapids. We did have the board member composition was a focal point, at least one elected official, one staff person. The smaller communities may fill that with either an elected official or staff person, no alternates. And that was to ensure that policy level perspective and operational expertise throughout. The supermajority, so during the discussion of the working group on the composition of the board, the supermajority vote was a topic that was discussed by the group because of the controlling dictation in the MOU, the charge that no entity would have a controlling stake. That the supermajority vote was a requirement of that and a topic of discussion, and the recommendations of those items that would require a supermajority vote are found on the screen. One of the important things that we talked about during the working group and then when we presented to council was the organizational structure, specifically with the subcommittees. This is an opportunity for additional expertise and additional engagement from the various communities that are on the agency board. And this speaks to where the topic of technology is really kind of memorialized. That's in the operations and waste management. One of the other things that, as we learned, talking about the technologies, and we're just focusing in on technologies because that has been the main topic that we've been discussing, especially given the settlement agreement from 2006. One of the things that we've learned is that there are some legislative matters at the state level that do present some obstacles from allowing landfills from working together. We have different planning regions, and it kind of dictates where we have to go or where we can work with. As part of the research for the working group recommendations, we spoke to the Metro Waste Authority, and they too, the largest waste authority in the state, they too are having challenges with trying to develop and explore alternative technologies for waste handling and waste conversion to energy and things like that. A lot of that does pertain to some of the legislative side of things. So as you can see in the Executive Management Policy Subcommittee, there is specific call out regarding legislative engagement and lobbyist reports, recommendations regarding legislation. The focus from the working group was really, it can't just be that. It has to be that plus the legislative efforts in order to really make significant change on this matter. With the subcommittees, the makeup, the 5 subcommittee members, that doesn't include agency staff, does allow for the inclusion of expertise from other organizations, and make sure that each subcommittee does have 2 board members to make sure that there's alignment between, very similar to the city council, with the planning and zoning and the various boards and commissions that do the work for you and report up to you and provide those recommendations. So a very similar structure. We did talk about goals and objectives. That was something spelled out in the MOU. This is familiar. This is incorporated into the legal documents that we shared to show how it would be required. Same thing with the performance metrics. So just on a high level, kind of next steps, the purpose for today is we really need direction from council on the governing, on the working group recommendations regarding the governance structure. If council says we recommend approval, what we would do is we would prepare the materials for May 19th and May 21st for council to officially approve them on May 21st. What that would do is that would kickstart the next process where the other partnering agencies would have to approve that. Once that's done, then we would get into all the legal documents that were included in your packet. We did provide those to our partner entities on May 1st, so they're going through them, reviewing them now, and the MOU contemplates a dialogue on those documents. If council recommends rejection, we would set up the materials for your vote on May 19th and May 21st, with one caveat. The MOU contemplates that if it is rejected, we do need to offer a proposal, counter proposal for the entity, for our partners, and the partners would then have to vote those up or down. I do want to point out one thing that is relevant to this. This is public. I've been assured that this is public information. I don't know that it's been widely televised or telegraphed, but Carmen McShane with the agency has announced that she's retiring from the agency. Told that, I believe that takes place next Friday. It has been communicated to us by those at the agency that they want to have this process play out and do plan on having a very engaged process as part of the recruitment. So likely incorporate the recommendations coming out of this. Here to answer any questions. Councilman Harper was instrumentally involved with this as well. So I don't want to throw him under the bus, but he's available for questions as well.
Thank you. Questions? Just so it's clear, what's the action? Is there action required tonight?
No, this is purely discussion and direction. What we're looking for is direction on what we should prepare for May 19th and May 21st. So either approval of the recommendations from the working group. Yeah.
Okay.
So formal approval comes May 21st or formal action by the council comes May 21st.
Questions? Go ahead.
Can you walk us through a scenario? Can you walk us through a scenario where, say, Marion disagrees, if all these are in place and we have the governing board in place and we disagree on whatever they bring forward, what do we have in place to be able to counter that? Say we disagree on something, what can we as a city do?
That really just boils down to who's appointed to the board. That it's handles very similar to the MPO model, where the actions are presented and there's dialogue amongst all the partners that serve on that board. And then there's a vote. If there's, I mean, obviously, if something, yeah, I mean, it's the democratic process. They would discuss it, debate it. There's been I don't know, Councilman Harper, I don't want to put you on the spot. You've served on the MPO board. I can't think of a time where something like this happened, but is there anything you can call that?
Well, let me jump in on this and if we can back up just a couple of slides to the one about the super majority. If we can go back a little bit.
Right there.
Yeah, okay, perfect. So let's, Calvin, let me put a scenario here, and one that I have thought quite a bit about. So under the category of facility changes, anything that encompasses generally siting, expansion, or closure, inclusive of any future setback or elevation cap changes. And I'll simplify that by saying anything that is material to the existing settlement agreement, which those matters are going to be retained, so that how that would occur is if there is a determination to do something that has impact on the terms and conditions of the settlement agreement, in essence, the agency board, the new agency board, would be making a request fundamentally to the signatories of the settlement agreement, which are Lynn County, the agency, and Marion, and they would have to all agree to that request under supermajority in order for it to go forward. So in essence, what this allows Marion to retain going forward is pretty much the superior decision-making condition for anything that impacts the basic intent of the settlement agreement.
Just to be clear, the request would require the supermajority.
Yes.
The actual action of anything that to change the settlement agreement requires Marion's consent. It can't happen without Marion
That's
consenting. But to even bring it to Marion as a request would require a supermajority vote of the agency board.
Correct.
Okay.
Did that get to the essence of your question? So what I maybe in grant terminology, the settlement agreement will remain as somewhat of the fail-safe mechanism for any critical decision, which is under the auspices of that agreement. But you can also see these other matters too. Most of these, other than facility changes, might just be on the basis of month in, month out kind of activities, especially on the capital project side. Governance changes. Again, what's going to happen is that there's superior documents that have to be amended. And so again, we have the opportunity to weigh in very heavily on those kinds of matters. And I'm kind of looking at Kara to see if will make sure I didn't say anything out of.
No, that is correct. The settlement agreement and the 2080 agreement, as well as any agreement that we would execute in relation to any modification of the settlement agreement, would all play a role in any future decisions. Additionally, we are required by code to have a termination provision in all 28Es. So if things really got crazy. Everybody has, it's a long-term notice provision, but there is an escape hatch ultimately.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Mayor, if I can, one other thing I forgot to mention. Based on comments from the council, the first time we provided this, one of the things that is incorporated into the draft of the bylaws is that there's an initial review of the governance structure after the first year, and then every other year following, to ensure that we are, that it's working as contemplated, that it is a collaborative process, and kind of work through those.
Let me just ask, just so that we can clarify it, because sort of underlying the concerns we hear, you know, I fully understand that there's the kind of the backstop, and that, you know, no change to the settlement agreement can happen without Marion City Council approval. Can you pull out or explain what in these documents is the proactive measure that's going to guarantee or lead toward consideration of the alternative technologies? What's the mechanism, or what is going to drive that proactively, as opposed to, we know we can't change anything without Marion, but
It's the subcommittee structure certainly talks about it. It's contained within the recitals. The MOU is affixed as an exhibit. The MOU is pretty clear, so there's a lot of documents that point to each other that speak to the evaluation of waste handling and disposal technologies. In fact, on the May 1st tour, I mean, Joe, before we were kicking off the tour, he said, hey, as part of this process, well, our expectation is that we're going to be looking at this every year. It's built within the bylaws, within the 28E. So, I mean, all the legal documents it's referred to, it's clear in the MOU and the intent of it. And I think at the end of the day, if and when a governance structure is appointed, who on this council gets appointed to that, to the agency board, would also have a responsibility, as would all others serving on that board, to really ensure that gets driven forward.
go ahead.
Yeah. So our the two, Mr. Mulholland and Mr. Sherman, who spoke to this earlier, the advantage of having the dialogue that we've had thus far has been formative in terms of helping, at least from my vantage point, the philosophy of how these subcommittees would function. And it was mentioned earlier during public forum that the 2044 technical analysis, while that was done in 2021, 2022 timeframe, it's, you know, in my way of thinking, that's ripe for a refresh, partly just because the technology landscape has changed, and as a result, either we need to revalidate the existing studies that have been examined, or for those technologies that were deemed to be viable through that study, the Operations and Waste Management Technology Subcommittee really can make a recommendation to the full board that there are two or three of those that need to go forward under a more complete financial viability analysis, and also to understand what kind of subsidies, both at state and federal levels, can be applied, as well as what revenue streams can be applied to offset their operational costs. Now, I've done a little bit of that on exactly one test case to get a feel for what that would mean. That kind of work is the kind of work that I think needs to be commissioned out of that subcommittee. So by virtue of the public comment that's been made, that's informative guidance for how this re-governance structure can operate and should operate. And I guess my position on that is sort of summing at the bottom line my comment here. In the absence of this re-governance, we won't get to any of that consideration. If we stay as is, that's not going to move forward very effectively under the existing structure.
If I can add on to Councilman Harper's, because we've certainly talked about this quite a bit, and that is the 2006 settlement. And part of the reason why we're here today is the 2006 settlement agreement lacks specificity about what pursuing alternative technologies was. And having the framework and the structure to kind of help facilitate that. So we believe that what we have here today helps do that. And that's gets memorialized by all the legal documents that would create a renewed agency with specific charges. All these legal documents clearly pointing back. And certainly we have the minutes now of all these meetings to point to saying, no, this clearly was the intent.
So evaluation of alternative technologies is, I mean, I don't know, is it guaranteed under this process?
Yes, it's the third bullet under scope, under operations and waste management technology. That's one of the core responsibilities of that subcommittee.
I think it's helpful to just bring that out and make sure that everybody's on the same page. So
yes,
Your Honor.
Thank you. Yes.
I would add, you asked for specific callouts. That is in Article 4 of the proposed bylaws that were attached, where it goes over the Operations and Waste Management Technology Subcommittee, and it specifies that their evaluation shall include, and it mentions all the things Grant talked about, the extensive financial review, including cash flow, operating, and investment performance statements. All of that is a shall statement in there when they are doing their evaluation. So it is pretty specific in those proposed bylaws. Of course, those would need to be adopted by a future agency board, but there are referrals to that in the 2080 as well.
Okay. Thanks for bringing all that out. I think, I mean, there's nobody who would be opposed to alternative technology, I don't think, assuming it's viable and, you know, that it can work financially, which from my understanding, a lot of the obstacles is the viability. But as long as it's part of our process and the evaluation of it is part of the process, wherever that leads, but that it's included.
And so, thank you, Mayor. And really quick, and Councilman Harper can chime in on this too. I mean, throughout the process with the working group from the entities, there was not one soul on that group that spoke against the evaluation of technologies. In fact, we had the representative from the large industry said, yes, this is something we need to do.
And I've made this point in our discussions about these documents and to staff that the alternative technology question is really heavily dependent, in my personal opinion, on the lobbying and state involvement in these issues. And I think that's in there too, that's
Yes,
more
sir.
than we have now in terms of engaging the state level decision makers in these, you know, in the solutions from a technology standpoint. So go ahead.
So some of my comments may mirror what Grant has already said, but again, I also would like to compliment Ed, Eric, and Frank and the Waste Not Iowa group. I think in all of their time and energy spent on this matter, not only in the past, but what I believe will happen in the future, regardless of what we end up doing. But one thing I said a month ago is we need an overhaul. What has happened in the past has been adequate, if that is acceptable. But I think everybody sitting up here and a lot of people in the room feel what has happened is not adequate for the future. So if you keep things as they are now, if 15 or 20-minute board meetings are adequate to drive the future of the solid waste agency, then we make no changes. But what has been recommended, I believe, is a structure which will provide managed changes in the future. So you got an expanded board with expanded governance. We have the subcommittees, which I think would really be the driving force for the future. I've said in the past, one of my key areas to focus on, just as the mayor talked about and referred to, is alternative technology. So we've got some proposed bylaws and stuff out there that I think I would probably take another look at. Have we made that stringent enough to make sure it is absolutely mandated and expected that that will be driven going forward? So the only aspect, I think the only comment I recall in the past that was brought up, I haven't heard any comments tonight, maybe it's not important anymore, is a month ago there was discussion about whether Marion should have 3 seats or 4 seats. To me, 3 versus 4 personally did not make a difference to me. Adding 1 more seat, if it gets you from 14 to 15, everybody always says on a board, having an odd number is better than an even number. But again, going forward, I'm basically what has been proposed, I can support. Going forward, I think we continue to look at the 2080 and the bylaws, what needs to be in that, because to me, that also becomes a very critical area on what the wording and the verbiage that needs to be included in that will be.
Go ahead. Just one more comment that relates to composition of the board, and really with a focus on the subcommittees. As I think Ryan covered, each subcommittee is targeted to have 5 members, 2 of which are board members. And then the rest of the 3 individuals can be drawn upon each member jurisdiction's staff expertise. And that's a model that is somewhat akin to the Metropolitan Planning Organization. We have city engineering personnel who serve on the Transportation Technical Advisory Committee, and they do the detailed work to really ferret out the nuts and bolts of projects that are being contemplated at the MPO level for the overall portfolio. And so that kind of model is emulated here. There would be the right personnel from our jurisdictions with the acumen necessary to complement the considerations of the subcommittees. And the important feature there is it changes the dialogue and the considerations going forward. It changes what would then be proposed to the full board for consideration. And 2 of the board members would have been material to whatever it was. Financial considerations, strategic planning, operational, detailed technology, whichever committee they're on, they will have an appreciation for why it's now being recommended to the full board. And I venture to say, will in fact then be a supportive set of voices for broad consideration by the committee or by the sitting board, irrespective of its size. So that's, I think, the step change that we have in terms of the organizational effectiveness of this agency board structure.
Yep. Gage. In line with my colleagues, I also support this structure. I don't get hung up on the number of seats because to me, it really depends on who's in those seats. And if based off of how serious we've seen the work go into this structure, as I've said before, this is structure itself, and the future board is one of the best examples of regionalism in practice that we have. This is a really important issue across the whole region. It's a sustainability issue. It's an economic issue. And, you know, I've had multiple conversations with Grant, with Ryan, with Supervisor Sammy Sheets.
And knowing the work that those three have put into it and others have put into it, seeing the structure, it gives me optimism and faith in what the board, the future board can do. I agree, pursuing those alternative technologies and sustainability efforts should be at the forefront of the work that this new board and that subcommittee is doing. You know, again, talking with Supervisor Sheets about this, you know, one of the things that have come up in our conversations is, you know, when the settlement agreement all kind of happened, like we were both literally kids, and this work has kind of been kicked down the road, and that's of no fault of one individual party. It's, you know, it's any action or inaction that's happened is with all of us as a region as a whole. So I think to go forward, this is the most comprehensive structure that Solid Waste Agency Board, most comprehensive plan that this board and agency has seen since that time. So again, I don't get hung up on 3 seats versus 4. It really matters on who we put in those seats and who the other parties put in those seats as well.
Yes, just a, I guess a caveat to that is, I appreciate that all the people currently at the table, you know, are in the right, thinking in the right direction. We need to make sure that the process and the documents will work and outlive the people who are currently involved with it. And still work in the same way that we envision. So, other than that, I'm supportive of the direction of the subcommittee, of the working group, I mean. So, is there anyone who's opposed to the recommendations of the working group? Okay.
I'm still opposed to the numbers. It's basic math. Cedar Rapids has 7 with 3 supervisors. They can move forward with whatever they want to do, and if we can get an extra one, I think we should find another way of being able to counter whatever they put forward if we don't want or like.
So you're saying this 7 with 3 supervisors? What is it?
That's
Can you
10.
explain that?
That's 10.
Right, so what, you're saying that the 3 supervisors are automatically going to be on
I'm not
on
saying
the,
they're automatically going to be, but I'm saying if they could convince the 3 supervisors,
Sure.
the 3 supervisors or whoever's going to be from Lynn County, that is 10 already. So
okay. Okay. Anyone else?
Mayor, if I can, one point, Councilman Uniman brings up a point about the county designee. There was one of the caveats for the recommendation was that one of the designees from Lynn County on the agency board must represent a substantial portion of the rural communities. That is an important part of that process to make sure that the smaller communities were represented. So having the addition of a small community, but also one of the Lynn County representatives would have to represent that substantial portion.
Steve?
Ryan, you mentioned earlier, one of the comments was that a year from, if this went forward, that a year after the new board would be put in place, that the board structure would be reevaluated. Is that what you said?
Correct.
So what does that actually, when you say reevaluated, what does that mean? And is there an opportunity if for some reason we feel the number of seats that Marion has is inappropriate, could we add one at that time? Is there something that can be, I'm trying to see what, I'm not as concerned about it now, but a year from now, we might have a better context of what that means and how people talk and react and who's on there. But right now, I'm not concerned, but what would be actually reevaluated a year from now?
So section 8, page 5 of the bylaws, commencing 1 year from the seating of the new 14-member board, A general review of the agency's organizational effectiveness, metrics, efficacy, and operational performance will be conducted to inform the continuous improvement of the prescribed board's structure, scope, and conduct of oversight, and to discern any necessary revisions of the 28E and/or these bylaws. Once the initial review has been conducted, this review will be conducted every other year.
Your Honor.
Yeah.
Just to clarify the process for that, what would happen there, Steve, ideally, from like the legal process would be that they would have their review, the agency would look at it. If the board wanted to recommend something, then they would come back and the two cities and the county would have to amend the 28E, or there would need to be a bylaw change if it's something that was not necessarily part of the 28E, such as some of the specific details that are in the bylaws but not in the 28E, which would also require that supermajority vote. I would also point out that in the bylaws, it does also require that one of the board members be an employee and one be an elected official. So the county would need to have at least one employee, so they could not have all three supervisors appointed to the board of directors.
Question, why is us adding or requesting for one more a bigger issue right now?
That's a decision for the council. The additional seat doesn't change the voting for the supermajority, but that's ultimately a discussion point for the city council.
I think what I hear Councilmember Uniman saying is, correct me if I'm wrong, but is there anything to be lost by asking for it, or do we see any challenge there?
I don't know, but we did share following the first round of comments from council. We shared with the partners that this was what we heard. But going through the process, the vote has to occur per the MOU. So either voted up or voted down. If it's voted down, then that's where the counter would come in.
Yeah, I would just add, I think between 3 and 4, there is just kind of a logically based off the overall numbers, it would be kind of a useless, pointless ask, because there are going to be more important discussions in the future for this new board that will take compromise and trust. And I think asking for 4 just kind of feels almost petty in a sense. And it doesn't give us, it doesn't make us a good partner to our partners to just ask for that number just for one more number.
Okay with 3.
Yeah,
I do. I want to step away from the 3 versus 4 for a second, but I want to provide my own perspectives relative to what I've seen over the last almost 6 years. There's an increased sense and behavior of cooperative regionalism. We see that, we've seen that in the activities regarding everything surrounding Tower Terrace. We've seen it in terms of the change of, I'll just say, engagement in the MPO, and there are staff members here that have seen it long term, and it, that used to be, I guess I'd call it a food fight. But now there is meaningful interaction about accelerating or delaying certain projects within the MPO's portfolio in order to aid and abet the greater good. That doesn't mean to say that there aren't pinch points across the regional contributors that we have to work through. I view those sometimes are at somewhat of a more person-to-person issue versus what are we trying to do in terms of the support of our total region. So I have a full expectation that that kind of regionalism first, thinking broad pictures, being data-driven, is going to manifest itself in the fundamental fabric and operations of this new proposed structure. And I really don't want us to lose sight of that. And I would say that will be a challenge and a charge to the new board not to become adversarial for self-centered purposes. I mean, that's why you would have an agency board like this. So anyhow, that's my last comment, Your Honor, really.
I think we have a strong consensus. Do you need any more than that?
No.
I do want to thank everyone for allowing me to make sure all voices were heard and that we've brought out concerns and questions. I want to thank the residents who have been engaged in this process and helped to inform our process. I talk a lot about partnership between the city and the people who live in this city. It works better when we have that kind of partnership where we inform each other and we engage with each other on such important topics. I want to thank the staff who have put a lot of time into this. This has taken an exorbitant amount of time, and especially our city manager for really being the driving force behind all of this, and sticking with it and being so diligent. And it's taken a lot of time, a lot of energy, I think for the greater good. And also council members Steve and Grant, who have put a lot of time also into this, and Kara for doing a lot of drafting and redrafting and redrafting and allowing me to weigh in on some of that drafting. And I think it's been a big joint effort to get to this point. So just want everyone to understand that this has not been an easy process. So, but it's definitely worthwhile.
Your Honor, you did this earlier today. You forgot to mention yourself. So thank you for your eyes and constant push on everything pertaining to this.
Thank you. Okay. This brings us to the second public forum. Thank you for your patience. Oh, no, we have one more. Oh, sorry, the budget amendment. Yes. Then we have the second public forum. So thank you for being patient with us. Go ahead.
Good evening, Your Honor, and the council. The most exciting item for last. Depends on your perspective, right? So this is a presentation regarding the fiscal year 26 budget amendment. We've had many conversations about the fiscal year 27 budget, the upcoming budget after July 1st. And so now we're kind of switching gears and coming right back into the present to this fiscal year of 26. So this is a budget amendment process that the state requires that we account for our expenditures if we are thinking that we're going to go over budget in any of these functions. And so this is expenditures that were not maybe contemplated during the budget process, whether they're unexpected or a strategic move by staff and council. A lot of these hopefully may look familiar to you. And just a reminder that the functions that the state are concerned about, multiple departments can fall within those functions. So for example, fire, police, communications center all falls under public safety. So we look at the functions as a whole. So fairly normal process each year. So we're going to walk through the proposed amendment. So a high level update. So this is Q1 through Q3, the end of March. And so again, the state is concerned at the function level. This is a high level overview of where we're sitting. So a few outliers here to mention that you might see on the screen would be capital projects. So the springtime's hit with the construction season. So we have an uptake in expenditures there. We have community and economic development. A large portion of this budget is kind of skewed right now with the CDBG 3 projects that's going on. That's those pass-through dollars that those projects, hard to estimate sometimes when we receive the revenue from the state and then the pass through to the construction companies. So they've just not moved quite as fast as we thought in the when we adopted this budget. And then there's debt service, which our main, we make interest payments twice a year, but we only make principal payments once a year, and that's still to come in this fiscal year. So we're going to go through the functions that are inside of the amendment. Feel free to ask any questions at any time or questions at the end. So just an explanation on the terms that we'll use here. So carryovers, those are items that were already budgeted in the previous fiscal year, so fiscal year 25 in this case, that were not spent due to many factors. Maybe it's a piece of equipment that there's some delay in the lead time of that piece of equipment. So those are carryovers, and then budget adjustments would be things, like I said, that were not originally contemplated, whether it's unexpected or we strategically decide to spend at a later point. So this is Public Works, and then I'll show the summary, and then we'll go into the detail on the next slide. So Public Works with this amendment mostly affects, in fact, all affects road use. And so it's worth noting here that all of these carryovers and adjustments were contemplated when we were doing our fiscal year 27 budget process, where we do our fiscal year 26 estimates. We go into 27, our budget, we do our 5-year model that we've already shown council. So all of these were incorporated into that 5-year model when we're looking at the sustainability of the road use fund. And so the carryovers here were from the previous fiscal year. So we've been strategically replacing equipment in Public Works over the last kind of several years in line with the reorganization that has been going on at the Public Works. So those are the carryovers, so from the previous fiscal year. And then as far as the adjustments, the major one here is an articulated wheel loader that we are moving up by 1 year in the asset replacement schedule due to that equipment failure. So again, you can ask questions now, or you could ask questions at the end.
Questions?
Yep. I'll do a slight pause, so jump in. So the next function is general government. That's kind of all of our internal service functions. This is mostly general fund. And so you can see here that there's a net positive adjustment with the revenues and the expenditures. So with the detail here, interest this fiscal year is trending higher, which is good news. Then we had budgeted, then we have some legal costs here, and then this is the majority of the recruitment of the police chief costs that actually ended up hitting in fiscal year 26. So that is general government. So then for debt service, this is fairly common. So this is fiscal year 26. When we did this budget, so the amount of the principal for the issuance for 2025 was unknown. And so that's fairly common. And then the issuance for 2025B is our urban renewal issuance. So at the time of the budget, we were not sure if we were going to move forward with that issuance or not. So we have included it here. That is actually abated by tax increment financing. So that does not, it's not an effect on the debt service levy as far as it's through TIF. And then we have transfers, even though the state does not require us to make an amendment on transfers. It's just kind of good to shore up our budgeted numbers here. This should look familiar. Hopefully this is the from the budget work session. This was the direction from City Council that we presented then. This is per our policy and our council direction that any excess from interest in our capital projects fund can go to general fund reserves or then to transfer to our equipment replacement to ensure this, make sure that that fund is sustainable. So the direction was for the transfer to equipment reserve. So just to kind of tie that all in a nice bow, so here's the summary. So mostly between debt service and our equipment carryovers, and so minimal adjustments, especially to the general fund. So I just want to kind of note that I think that speaks to the integrity of our budgeting process. We do meet with our departments on a quarterly basis to kind of get ahead of those issues. And also worth noting, there's no overtime adjustments. We've kind of had those the past few years. So just a general acknowledgement to the whole team that we are coming a long way in our budget processing. So next steps is we will publish the notice for the public hearing, and then we will hold the public hearing at the next council meeting and work towards adoption of this amendment. Is there any questions? I know it's been a long night.
Just a comment from me. Couldn't agree with you more that we've come a long ways in our budgeting process. The three of us who have been on here a long time have seen, and some of the people in the audience too, who are very faithful attendees at these meetings, and then have seen the progress and the elevation of this process to the level that it's at now, and it speaks very highly of all the work and effort and the great team that we have. So, questions for Brian?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now we have our second public forum, which is the time set aside for comments from members of the public on any other topic that it was not on the agenda. Sir, this would be the right time for you to come forward. And we would ask that people addressing the council, please adhere to the guidelines that I shared at the beginning of the meeting.
Mayor, council members.
Thank you for your patience with the long meeting. So,
My name is Robert Sweet. I live at 1427th Street, in Marion. I've lived there 54 years. My property adjoins another piece of property and overlooks Indian Creek. Last week, I received this notice in my mail that you're going to have an informational meeting on Indian Creek Master Plan Development. I said, fine, I'll go and see what their plan is. When I got there, I found out there is no development plan going on. It's already settled. They've already made the plan. You've approved the plan. They put out bids and even have a contractor working on the first phase of a 9-phase project. And there was no information to the community, in particular to people that live along the creek. None. All those people that were there last night had no previous information about the plan. Most of them were mainly concerned about trespassing on their property. I'm not concerned about that. My concern is this. We here in Marion and Iowa in general are frugal people. And to spend, which I understand is about $20 million for 9 parking lots so people can access Indian Creek over maybe a 2-mile stretch, maybe. That would be stretching it probably. Doesn't make sense to me. Now, I've lived there, as I said, 54 years. So I know, what the creek is. The creek is no more than a drainage ditch. During the summer months, when you're proposing to use it the most, in front of my property, there's not a foot of water, not 1 foot, sometimes 6 inches. Now, in the brochure and on your website, when they show the sites, they show parking lot, they have boat access ramps, they show people carrying their boats or kayaks or rowboats down to the creek. I mean, you're kidding yourself. That's not going to be used. Even this month of April, we have during the month of April, say, we had a lot of rain, more than normal. And even a couple of weeks ago, we had major thunderstorms up in the Indian Creek watershed. Today, there's about 1 foot of water in the creek in front of my house, off my backyard. 1 foot of water. Now, all I'm asking, I'm not putting a kibosh on the project. But what I'm saying is, they've already put out a bid and you've got a contractor working on site number 1, which is up at the north end. Let's go ahead with that. See if people use the creek. Instead of going ahead and putting 8 more of these parking lots, basically they're just parking lots, all the way down the creek. If they use it, fine, go ahead with it. I'm an old guy. I mean,
1 minute remaining.
I'll be here to see it. But I think it's just throwing money away. Now, I'm sure it's never came to light to the people of Marion. It never got voted on because it's a so-called federal grant. Now, to me, that's still money out of your pocket and my pocket, even though it's coming from the federal government. I don't care where it's coming from. That's still wasted money. And we sit here in Iowa and we look at other states, you know, when I said we're frugal here, we look at these other states that have these boondoggle projects, you know, bridges to nowhere or high-speed rail that'll never be built, that'll never get out of the station, that we've already put billions of dollars in. Well, this is a small-scale boondoggle. It'll never be used.
Your time is up, sir.
Thank you for your comments.
But I used up my time?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's fine. I just wanted, I'm not totally against the project. All I'm saying is, let's look at the schedule. Let's go ahead with site number 1. If people use it, go ahead and put in another one. Next year, put in another one. But the way it was presented last night was, it's automatic. You're gonna put 1 in, next one goes in, the next one, and it'll all be built out in about 2 or 3 years.
Okay. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for sharing your concerns.
Thank you very much for listening.
And Mr. Sherman.
I'm the same person I was before. May I have another 5 minutes to talk about the landfill?
Sure.
We do?
Go ahead.
When I grew up, my father always said to me, always consider the worst that could happen. When I was a pilot in the Air Force for 20 years, we always thought about what was the worst that can happen. Let's go back for a minute on the composition of the governance board. Just briefly, we know that the 3 minority communities cannot generate 8 votes for a majority on an issue that they want to bring before the board, an initiative or a measure. They cannot generate if the other community votes in a block, a single entity having voting control. Same thing with the majority the 3 communities can't get 10. They can only get 7. So a single entity could block measures brought up by the 3 minority communities. That's the worst case scenario. The other part of this is on the alternative or new technologies, admittedly, it's in the subcommittees, but I always taught that a higher level always told the subcommittees what their charge was. And I know some of that's in print. But unless the Board of Trustees, a higher level, has it in their bylaws specifically, they may not charge the subcommittee with a certain issue or to look at something, and they may not fund it. Or if the subcommittee comes up with something, worst case scenario, that one community could say, no, we've been through this before. We did the HDR study, et cetera. It's possible that you could get probably almost all the same board members back on that were on the old committee. They say, we've gone through this before. No, we've been through this before. Unless there's some specific language in the bylaws for the board to tell them exactly what you expect of them, as you mentioned, Steve, and we talked about this in the meeting, specifically tell them what you want to do. Now, the only other choice I think that you have, if you're going to go down this path, is, and it's been mentioned here earlier, I think by Eric and me, when it comes time for you to consider the expansion of the landfill, we recommend, at least I do, that you say, well, you need to go out and do another look, a current look at technology, a rigorous, intensive look at the most promising technologies. And you have 1 year to do that. Come back to us in 1 year. And if you find it's too expensive, the timelines won't work, or it's not feasible in some other respect, and you can show Marion that. You can show Marion that. I would say if they showed Marion that and Marion agreed that it's not feasible, you give them the 450-foot expansion.
You have 1 minute remaining.
If they don't, and you say, well, it looks feasible to us, the cost isn't that prohibitive, considering transferring how much that costs, and it looks good to us, we will advocate for the advanced technology. That's what we will do. It's essentially, I hate to use the word forces, but it's an incentive for them to actually go out and do something. If you give them the 450 feet expansion first, then the worst case scenario can come into play and you lose your leverage. Thanks, appreciate it.
Thank you. Anyone else address council, please come forward. Okay, this brings us to council comments. We'll start with Councilmember Miskimmin. Mr. Kinnaman.
May is Mental Health Awareness Month. Want to take this time to ask and encourage our residents to reach out and check on one another and use every available resources to them, and continue to treat mental health as a physical health issue. That's all I can.
Thank you. Steve. Well, okay.
I do want to thank everyone for their participation this evening and the commentary. I said it earlier during some comments, but You know, it may not seem like it, but honestly, the public commentary is informative to help shape our here and now and future thinking on a variety of issues. So thank you.
Okay, for my part, on the issue of the landfill, I do appreciate all the comments. I know I allowed an extra 5 minutes for, uh, uh, for Frank, but I think, you know, it's just in the spirit of making sure that we are hearing all voices. It's important to me that everyone has the opportunity to make themselves heard. So thank you. I had another point on the landfill that is now escaping me, but on the issue of the creek, I wish Mr. Sweet was still here. This has been a project that has been talked about, planned in the public eye, in these meetings for a number of years now. We have talked about it for at least a decade. And it came through the community visioning process. It was one of the ideas that came from the community. It has been driven by a steering committee that includes residents of the city. So to say that the public knew nothing about it is simply incorrect. Mr. Sweet and others might be happy to know that it is phased, and each phase has to be approved and funded by the city council. Even though the plan has been approved, the funding for all the phases hasn't been approved. So it will be in a phased process where we can gauge how it's going before we approve the next phase. You know, I think so. Just wanted to make sure that was clear on the record, that this project has been ongoing for a long time and has been in the full view of the public and discussed and talked about publicly and with public involvement, and in fact came from the public. The other item I wanted to mention is congratulations to Councilmember Ms. Skimmon on his engagement. We're all very happy for you. That's wonderful. Yeah. That's great. We're all very happy for you.
Lucky you.
Guy,
not lucky lady.
And just a few of the things that I've been doing since the last city council meeting. I got the opportunity to engage with the JA Biz Town project, which is at the intermediate school. The JA team puts the students through a program where they get to run their own city. There are public officials and business owners, and they get to learn about how to run a business, finances, all those types of things, and making laws. And so I actually administered the oath of office to the mayor of Biztown, and that was kind of fun. On Saturday was the annual Milwaukee Road matchup, which is the second annual now soccer game between Marion and Linmar. And I sponsor the trophy for that every year. So I attended the game and awarded the trophy to the Marion High School team this year. So congratulations to them. I had the opportunity to welcome the board of the Iowa Bankers Association, who visited Marion last week, and share a little bit about what's going on in Marion and our progress and our tremendous momentum. They were all very excited. They were all very aware. So that was from across the state, and they all knew all about Marion, what was going on here, which again is an indicator of the reputation that our city is earning across the state. And they shared some really interesting statistics about the economic health of our city. So we also had a very good meeting with the Gazette editorial board. We do that quarterly. And just to keep them informed on what our projects are, answer their questions, help them understand fully what the city is working on, and they get the opportunity to ask us their questions, which informs how they're reporting. The staff, the leadership retreat with the city council, I thought was very productive, and look forward to future sessions of that. I also had the opportunity last week to speak at the annual Safe and Drug-Free Schools Luncheon, which is a consortium between Linn-Mar and Marion, where they recognize students who have made good decisions to live a healthy lifestyle. And these student leaders are just amazing. It's always just amazing to me to hear all their accomplishments, everything they're involved in. It gives me comfort that our future is in good hands. So I encourage them all to, after if they go to college, whatever they end up doing, to come back and live in Marion and offer their energy and their talents here. But I've done that every year since I've been mayor. Have the chance to speak and then to present them the awards, and always an event that I look forward to. Other than that, I'm working with the Heritage Center on some fundraising and among other things. So with that, thank you for a good meeting tonight, really good discussion, and we will see you next time. The meeting is adjourned.